a good benchmark of where we are and where we're heading. Richard Nolan from Nolan Transport joins me now. One of the largest fleets of road transport equipment throughout Europe. They're based in New Ross. He gives an honest and open appraisal of where we are pre-COVID, during COVID, and where we need to head on the road to recovery. Good morning to you, Richard.
How are you, Alan? How are you doing?
It's a while since you and I spoke. We spoke pre-COVID-19, basically, at a big event that took place in West Wexford in New Ross.
Nobody really saw this coming, not like this. Everybody thought it was something that was over in the Far East somewhere. Nobody ever thought that this would come upon us the way it has done.
So how has it impacted on your business then?
So when it impacted first in March, we actually, in March, from our perspective, it hit first of all, sort of panic buying started, so we got as busy or busier, if you like, sort of from mid-March to the end of March. But then by the end of March, once the Taoiseach gave the order to close the country, very same as everybody else, and had to just flow into whatever supports were there or possibilities to keep people ticking along, if you like. So in that respect, no different than anybody else at a point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you and I last had a chat, we talked in detail about your vision for New Ross. You talked about bringing pharmaceutical companies to the New Ross area, and you had great hopes and aspirations for the future. Are those hopes somewhat tempered now by what's going on, Richard, or how would you describe the way you're feeling?
Not one iota. What we talked about then, and that would have come through Sean Reedy of Wexford, County Wexford Chamber of Commerce, makes more sense today than it made then. So who would like to put a wonderful big factory in a big city somewhere today? They just wouldn't. Who would like to put it in an island on the edge of Europe that, whilst this thing has definitely affected us, it looks like our government seems to have done okay, I think.
Yeah. All right.
So it looks like they're doing the responsible thing. So the ideas that we had back then, that we have today, we were talking about manufacturing, remember, make as much sense, if not more, today than they did back then.
Right.
If you were, however, talking about, say, financial services or office space or something like that, yeah, that's changed. That will never be the same again, I don't think, because what's happened is we proved that people can actually work from home. They can actually do it if they're administration-based type people. And in our own case, we have a planning system, and as long as the employees had good broadband and I suppose the space to do it in their own house, they could do it. So I'm speaking to you today from my own kitchen, and I'm used to working remotely anyway, but the best part of it was, in our own case, was that the planners could actually work from home, which was extraordinary. We didn't think that could happen. So to get back to what we talked about that night, was could manufacturing come to New Ross, like we talked before? Has that tempered it? Not one iota. I think the place is even seen as safer than any place else, certainly in Ireland. Wexford has done well.
When you look at the scale of your company, Richard, just to let people know about how successful Nolan Transport has been over the years, have you had to reduce the numbers? Have you maintained employment? Or for that matter, would you even be improving and increasing employment because of this?
No. Right now, in this pandemic?
Yeah.
No. We're the same as everybody else. Now, we're not the same as everybody else. People in hospitality, you're hardly to have to go out to them. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just this came upon them. We've colleagues in the transport of people business, buses, if you will. Again, they didn't do anything wrong. It's just this thing came at people differently. In our case, we're moving cargo, and generally it's one driver, one truck, so the driver is self-isolating anyway. But the numbers, we can't defy the law of gravity any more than anybody else. So the numbers have gone down, and we've gone down with them. And they will come, they will rise again as well. I'm absolutely confident of that. But, there's going to be consequences here.
When you talk about driver safety and you're concerned about your staff, you say one driver, one cabin, etc. How safe have they been? Have you had concerns? Have you had worries? Because they really are keeping the food lines open and have been doing for many weeks at this stage.
I genuinely don't know anybody that has no worries about this. We've been worried, terrified for staff, for ourselves. Everybody has an older parent, friend, or an underlying issue. Everybody knows somebody in that category. We're no different. Have we had people that have got the virus? We have. They got through it. Thankfully, they have. Has it spread? No. We've been really fortunate. Has it been a lot or a little? It's been tiny. It's been really, really small. But it's a virus. It doesn't differentiate between whether you're from Wexford or Dublin, whether you're, whether you support Man United or Liverpool or Wexford or Waterford or whatever. It doesn't matter.
And do you see a strengthening of Rosslare Europort in all of this? I mean, last week we spoke to the people from Holland who are getting involved in the new wind initiative. There's been a call by Independent Deputy Verona Murphy to bring Dublin Port to Rosslare Europort. When you look at Rosslare Europort, how big a factor is it in what Nolan Transport do?
It was everything. If you go back to today, that's where we started, where we are. Then it changed, Then the road systems changed. So Ireland is a hub and spoke system around Dublin. It's just a matter of fact. It's just the way it is. But, with the new infrastructure that's gone in, especially in Wexford, Rosslare is a good place, It's a great port on our doorstep, and we're so lucky to have it. And there definitely seems to be a sea change in management down there. There definitely seems to be a bit of get up and go going on down there. So anything that increases footfall, cargo, freight, etc. down there, the capacity is there to do it. It's not really disadvantaged because it's south of Dublin. Not really. It's on the east coast. So I don't see any big disadvantage of where it is. I only see advantages. Now, there is a little strip of road that'll eventually come, that'll join up the port to the rest of it. But there's no big blockage that I can see. I don't see any big negative there, from what I can see anyway. Certainly from a freight perspective. I hear people talking about rail freight. We had ideas of a rail thing ourselves, but listen, road freight might be just the way it works in a small island nation,
I spoke to you, as I said, I met you for the first time at the Invest Wexford conference at the Brandon House Hotel. I get from you today you're in a kind of a reflective frame of mind. Do you think the fact that you're not as mobile at the moment and you've been working from home, is it a different Richard Nolan I'm speaking to the one I spoke to in your Ross that day?
No, it's quieter. Remember, there was 4 other people there that you spoke to. Pauline was there from Lake Region. They're going well. Pascal and John and God, I can't think of your last name.
Yeah, it was a very interesting debate. It was really, really positive, very enjoyable. Yeah. But it's still the same Richard Nolan then.
Very same. But those I know that those people have pretty much all, put in the social distancing that's required, and found a way through it. Here's the message, I suppose, and maybe this is what you're digging for. There comes a point where you just got to get on with this. There will come that point in everybody that you just got to recognise this is what it is. We have to live with this. We have to find a way for the next 2 or 3 years to live with this and get on it. Mm-hmm. Now, some people get there earlier, some people get there later. There's nobody right or wrong about it. It's just the way it is. But no, I suppose reflective. I know what's coming behind this. There is a recession of sorts coming behind this, and you got to realise that. But we've been through worse than this in the last 10 years, that's for sure. So I think Irish businesses are well placed. Some will come through. Most, I think, will come through. The people in hospitality, I'd feel for, because how can you run your business if all this is upon you? Please God, as the phases lift by August, who knows what we'll be doing by then? Because every day flows into the next. It's somebody said at the start of this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Never a truer word was said. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree with you. I mean, the name Nolan's has been embedded in Wexford business for many decades now. I want to say hello to your mum as well, who I know tunes in from time to time. Stay well, Richard. And look, thanks for sharing a chat with us this morning. And in a positive frame of mind, I think you is it cautious optimism on your part, or how would you describe your mood?
I think it is, but you have to get past this. You have to try and see past it. No disrespect to your profession, but I probably stopped listening to the news 4 weeks ago. I'm sure you don't want that advertised, because it was Groundhog Day all the time. But even that seems to be moving on now, So you just got to find a way past this. And I have no doubt people will find a way. I've equally no doubt that some form of medical treatment of this will occur. It may be a vaccine, it may not be, it may be something else. But, I genuinely believe that if you give this a quarter or two, we will be through it. I would imagine, if you think about it, this time next year, if you put yourself fast forward 10 or 12 months, where will we be, where could we be, etc., etc.
Where will we be, do you think?
I think we'd have moved on. I think there will be... do I think the world is going to come to a standstill? It isn't. Have you noticed that people have found a way to get to the supermarkets to get what they need? They've found a way... I heard of a fast food restaurant or fast food takeaway in New Ross that, they found a way to get the food to you. You pull up in a car and they put it in the boot as you pull up. People are finding all kinds of ways to do all kinds of things. Is it ideal? It is not ideal. Will we have to get back to a way where we're hugging our dearest and what have you? Yes, we will. Will that happen? I'm absolutely sure it will happen. But it can only happen, once the medics say the coast is clear, yeah.
Interesting guy, and really riveting to meet when I met him in the Brandon House Hotel as well, and again speaking to him there now. That's Richard Nolan. Just to remind you, Richard is from the Nolan team, the transport team, one of the largest fleets of road transport equipment throughout Europe, and based in Uras. He gave us there an honest and open appraisal of where we were pre-COVID, during COVID, and where we need to be on the road to recovery.